the IAEA Director General, Yukiya Amano, has warned against pressing the international nuclear watchdog. And this was back in Jan 30. He said that if attempts are made to micromanage or put pressure on the agency in nuclear verification, that is counterproductive and extremely harmful. He also said that independent, impartial, and factual safeguards implementation is essential to maintain that credibility. But here's the problem, Van. I think the Trump administration has made it very clear that it's not just about the JCPOA. Well, they've said that this is a bad deal. Trump said this on the campaign trail also. He wasn't particularly enamored of this deal, which obviously the Obama administration struck. But they have since made it clear that the key foreign policy goal of the current US government is to initiate regime change in Iran by crippling its economy to such a degree that popular unrest removes the current power structures. And they're also concerned about, of course, the missilery that Iran has been developing and continues to develop. But more than that, also Iran's power projection or realpolitik in the greater Middle East. So it's a larger issue for the Trump administration and not just the JCPOA.
Yes, of course it is. Just as in France, the government is divided between hawks and moderates who like to pursue diplomacy in the French government. The U.S. administration, the Trump administration, is clearly divided on that as well. You have, on one hand, you have the National Security Council dominated by the likes of John Bolton, who is the national security advisor to the president, who has a very tough stance and who would like to see a regime change in Venezuela, who would like to see a regime change in Iran, and then you have the president's camp, especially the president himself, who does not think on issues in a political manner as much as he thinks on economic terms. The president of the United States thinks on economic terms, while his advisors in the NSC think in political terms. The NSC advisors do not understand that countries like Iran and Venezuela, regardless of economic pressure, regardless of collapse of their countries' economies, they are not developed countries that would topple governments because of an inflation. These are countries where you can kill at least 50 or 100 people in one day, and nothing would change in the country. The human rights situation is so terrible that economic problems wouldn't shake a government, wouldn't shake a regime. So the American government's division on this, that Trump's approach from the beginning, Trump throughout his campaign and afterwards, his concern with the JCPOA was that the Americans were not getting a lot of money from this, that the Iranians are getting a lot of money, the Americans are not getting a lot of money from this. So what the president's approach was on economic terms to have the Gulf states, the Arab states, contribute more money in Iraq, contribute more money in the Middle East, contribute more oil into the world oil market. This is what the president thinks about. This is the president of the United States is thinking about the global economy, the U.S. economy, before the global economy, of course. But so he's thinking about money, and then by increasing.